If you want to support the platform just in case anything like this happens again, you can do it by way of PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, and also by the Anchor. And you can also further support the platform by way of going to the Teespring store or the shoe store that is located in the comment section below. A former top state official in Mississippi pled guilty Thursday to state and federal charges in connection to an embezzlement scheme that auditors state misused millions of welfare dollars, including funneling funds into projects linked to prominent Mississippians like former NFL star Brent Favre. Officials from the United States Department of Justice and the Hines Court District's Attorney's Office announced the one time head of the Mississippi Department of Human Services, John Davis, has pled guilty to 2 federal counts and 18 state counts. Davis, age 54, served as the director of the Human Services Department at the time. State auditors say that more than 70 million of federal welfare funds were being misused, including being spent on officials' personal expenses and by charities on projects related to welfare programs. The DOJ stated that Davis and quote, his co-conspirators used federal funds for their personal use and benefit. At Davis's direction, MDHS provided federal funds to 2 nonprofit organizations and then directed the 2 nonprofit organizations to fraudulently award contracts to various entities and individuals for social services that were never provided. On Thursday, the former state official pled guilty to 2 federal charges, 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and to commit theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 1 count of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds. He'll be sentenced to up to 5 years in prison on the conspiracy count and 10 years on the theft count. Davis also pled guilty to 5 counts of conspiracy and 13 counts of fraud in Hinds County. Quote, Davis was one of the 6 defendants arrested and later indicted in 2020 in one of the largest embezzlement schemes in Mississippi. And that was stated by Hinds County District Attorney Jody E. Owens. The vast fraud scheme was uncovered in 2020 by a state audit of federal funds allocated the state agency. When the state auditor, Shad White, announced the findings, he called the scheme the most egregious misspending my staff has seen in their careers. The 8-month-long investigation showed that the department gave more than $98 million to 2 nonprofits, the Mississippi Community Education Center and the Family Resource Center of North Mississippi. Of the $98 million, $94 million was questioned, meaning it was either definitively misspent or auditors were unable to determine whether it was legally spent. The state auditor has stated that around $77 million of the monies was intended for state welfare programs, temporary assistance for needy families. Last week, White told a news station, quote, I think what you had was a lot of money being pushed through a state agency that decided to then funnel the money to a nonprofit. There just weren't a ton of checks on how the nonprofit was spending this money until the auditor's office started digging into it. And then, going another step further into the future, I think that it's important that we show the public that there are going to be consequences. According to investigators, more than $4 million was used to build a Brent Favre-backed volleyball center at the University of Southern Mississippi, Favre's alma mater, and where his daughter played the sport at the time. The state of Mississippi filed a civil suit against more than 35 people and entities, including Pro Football Hall of Famer, earlier this year. Text messages were released last week as a part of the civil suit by attorneys for the nonprofit funded by Nancy New, who has already pled guilty to charges related to welfare fraud schemes. They showed Favre discussing getting money through News nonprofit and expressing his love for Davis after being told of the funding, as well as meeting with Davis and former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant about the funding. Bryant and Favre have not been criminally charged with any wrongdoing at this time. Bryant is also not named as a defendant in the civil suit. The former quarterback's attorney stated that Favre, who retired after a 2010 season and a 20-year tenure in the NFL, did not know welfare funds were being used for the volleyball center and that his fundraising efforts for the volleyball center were honorable. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to how this is working. Now, I covered this thing with Brent Favre on the previous channel about how this money magically, he came into this money and he had it and it was misused and he wasn't supposed to use it and how he was supposed to return it and yada, 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 right? And it magically went radio silent, right, for a very long time. So now you got this brand new sports story, right, with a basketball coach who ended up having an affair with 1 to 2 women, and the marriage is in shambles. But the highlight of the story is the fact that press conferences have to be made, that things have to be stated, that all of this stuff is directly out in the open for people to 100% look at and scrutinize and talk about. But yet you have Brent Favre, who had 20 years in the NFL, who is more than likely a millionaire, still got some money. I'm pretty sure if he wanted to do a fundraiser, he could just do it off of his name alone, and people would show up to donate funds, both normal people, celebrities, and other people alike. But he decided to roll through in a scheme to do some money laundering, to take from needy families who actually need this money and pretty much give to himself and his daughter. Nobody sees anything wrong with that. I find it interesting that all of these sports organizations, these shows, and all this other type of stuff, they're not really talking about this. They're not really talking about this white guy that stole money, right? Nobody's looking. Nobody's looking at that. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to, oh, look at what this black man did. This black man did this. He did this. He's wrong. He's wrong. This is what I'm talking about with black men, right? That's the whole main thing that's getting pushed out there. But yet you got a white dude that had a career and he decided that he wanted to steal money from the people that need it. And for some odd reason, this is not the focal point of any type of sports news. And I'm going to say again,
you don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Because let me tell you something, let me just throw a theory out there, right? This is the difference in between the two stories, right? One is dealing with a black man or one that people can, for the forefront, for face value, one that people can just take as a black man, right? And the other is dealing with the white guy. That's all I'm listening. I'm not listening to nothing more, nothing less. That's what I'm going by, and I'm going by the facts that have clearly been stated. The only reason that people are focusing directly on other stories is because a black man did it. If this was, in a sense, a white superstar that was like a quarterback or he was a coach or whatever it was, this would not have been a big deal. This would not, in a sense, been all over sports. Like I said, whenever black people do something, magically people think like, oh my God, this is the first time. How could people actually sit up there and do this? Like, oh, this is beyond me. What is going on in life? Right? It's just magically, it's the biggest thing. But yet when a white dude basically steals $5 million, it's nothing. Nobody's really, talking about it. People are pretty light on the comments when you look this up. But mind you, let a black dude that stole, a black dude who had 20 years, stole $5 million. Y'all would have been all over the story. All over the story. Let a black dude had did another Mike Vick. Y'all have been all over the story. All over the story. Mind you, Caucasian people are the main ones that leave their dogs out in the cold, in the heat. They just let their dogs, loose. They let them, go unbathed and, untaken care of and unfed for, days, weeks, and years. Dogs are emancipated and whatnot. But let's focus on quote unquote Mike Vick, right? Because it's a black man that is popular, that's doing a lot of stuff, and you want to find some type of way to take him down. But yet y'all do this far worse, far worse on an everyday basis, and I've seen this on an Animal Planet. I've seen this by way of when Cops used to actually be a show about, what it was. They rescued anywhere from like dogs to people that were homeless to people that were going through situations in their houses, so on and so on and so on. But like I said before, anything that's attached to black is going to sit up there and make money, is going to bring in views, and everybody's going to be talking about it. Somebody like Brent Favre, magically ain't nobody talking. But I could have sworn somebody said that white people don't steal. What happened? That dude is a millionaire. What happened? All that government money gone to waste. Hmm. Interesting. One way to compensate people in a sense, I guess, for that volleyball, court or whatever it is, however it basically works, teams from the areas that were going to use that money, kids and whatnot, they should automatically get scholarships to play volleyball. And that's going to be the area that they practice in. If Brent Favre's daughter was able to practice there, then everybody else should be able to practice there who was supposed to get that money. That's at least some way to, help people out in a sense, to give people a leg up. Brent Favre gave himself a leg up, which he didn't need to do, but he decided to do it because he didn't realistically want to use his own money. He didn't actually want to do a little bit of hard work just to, be able to do something. But like I said before, pay attention to what it is that people are showing you, and pay very close attention to the things that people aren't showing you.